Hey, this is Yobachi Boswell at the Consciousness and Justice Conference here on Friday, September the 20th, 2024. We're here in St. Louis, Missouri, where the Religious Liberty Department hosts this conference, I think annually or biannually. And again, it's called Consciousness and Justice Conference. You can look that up online. So we're going to be bringing you some things from that conference of this week. I'm going to start with a particular program that happened earlier this afternoon where they were talking about, I forget the name of let me go look that up actually. It's called Christian Nationalism and Privilege, Threats to Democracy. So it was a discussion and then a panel on Christian nationalism. Moya Harris gave the main discussion and main topic. So she'll be the person who you're seeing speaking at the beginning of this video following my comments here. And we'll pretty much get into that pretty much here right away. And then we'll go on from there. Look for more videos from this conference that I'll have in the coming days.
Some of my best girlfriend was my boss, and she's in Venice, and her father was in the church all over the world. So I'm among sisterin, brethren, family, and I'm glad to be here. So let's start talking about this thing called Christian nationalism. For those of you that don't know, Sojourners is a Christian nonprofit organization, 501c3. We have a magazine. We also do mobilizing and advocacy. I'm on the mobilizing and advocacy side, but I've done a little bit of commentary, so you'll see my stuff every once in a while. So, there's two preachers. One stands in his pulpit telling his congregation that God is a God of judgment, wrath, and power. He preaches a God who reigns from a distant throne and indifferent to the sufferings of the people. His congregation learns from what he says and see themselves as chosen. His congregation learns to see themselves as superior and empowered to dominate others. They justify their treatment of others based on this vision of a distant and authoritarian God. Just across town, another preacher rises. She speaks of a God who walks. I'm just really imagining from the 1800s. Maybe it was Jarena Lee, I don't know. She speaks of a God who walks among the oppressed, the God who feels the pain of the downtrodden, the one who liberates the captives and gives sight to the blind, and whose love knows no bounds. Her congregation, they understand that this God is a God of love and cares about their suffering and fights for the marginalized and resists systems of oppression. These two preachers represent what is going on.
Imagine this. Can't see
two radically different theologies. One who sees God as distant and punitive, and the other as present and liberating. And from these two theologies flow two very different anthropologies. How they see human beings in their worth and their role in society. The way we see God shapes the way that we see people. If we see God as a God of wrath and hierarchy, and as patriarchal, as racist, as just mean, we begin to view certain people as inherently less worthy of love, justice, or rights. And you make up narratives that you know aren't true. This shapes our anthropology, the study of human beings, because we categorize people according to what we believe about God. For example, if our theology tells us that only certain people are chosen or favored, we build systems, legal systems, social systems, political systems, educational systems that reflect that belief. This is how theology informs anthropology, which in turn shapes sociology, the way that society is organized, including laws, policies, cultural norms, what we think is right and what is considered other. We see this in our everyday lives and we don't even realize it. Our theology is shaping how we see the world, how we treat one another, and it reflects our image in our mind of our God. I mean, we don't know what God looks like, but when we think of the things of God, when you hear it in the Bible, we do it from an anthropological perspective. Like, God stoops down low, and all the things that we do is from our human view, our world view. And it also shapes our ideas. The way we see God shapes our ideas, our epistemologies, our ways of knowing and understanding the world, and it forms our ontology, how we exist in the world, how we see our being. Our theology, our way of understanding who God is, by whatever name we call him or her, no matter how we choose or don't choose to worship, shapes how we show up in the world. So what is white Christian nationalism? A report from the Cairo Center for Religions, Rights, and Social Justice and the Move On Educational Fund, that's a lot of words, y'all, say that white Christian nationalism is an anti-democratic movement that uses Christian theological frameworks to justify and perpetuate its core ideology of Christian supremacy, white supremacy, and patriarchal notions of gender and family. It uses theology to justify control of bodies. This report goes on to say that the control of bodies, I said that part, that wasn't in the quote. This report goes on to say, says this: white Christian nationalism is a political movement that cloaks itself in the garb of Christianity and abuses history, identity, theology, and minoritarian gain. It is a reactionary movement grounded in the changing demographics of the United States, as white Christians are now a numerable minority within the majority, multiracial, and multi-ethnic country. So my interpretation is a lot of this reaction is because the diversity of this country is changing. And I don't know if any of y'all listen to hip hop, but Public Enemy said it a long time ago. That album called "Fear of Black Planet."
Right.
We should be thinking about not just ourselves, but other people. So what is our response? Aubrey Hendricks reminds us that true Christian theology is a theology of liberation. If we just stop at the resurrection of Christ, that's liberation right there. A God who suffers with us, who stands with the oppressed, calls us to see the image of God in every person, the imago Dei, the image of God in everyone, even the people that are saying the horrible things. That's a hard thing. This is a theology that doesn't just inform a different anthropology, it requires it. It requires us to look at one another differently. By seeing every person as equally loved and valued by God, our anthropology should shift. We see every human as deserving of justice, dignity, and freedom, deserving of being able to go to the hospital and be taken care of, and not sit in the parking lot and bleed out, and not be taken care of and having chest pain and you're having a heart attack and they know it. But because of the color of your skin, we just won't wait. Our policies, our laws, and our behaviors must reflect a commitment to justice for all. Enslaved Africans in America demonstrated remarkable spiritual resilience and theological creativity in the face of oppression. Despite being subjected to a distorted version of Christianity that was used to justify their enslavement, many were able to discern a deeper and liberating truth within the biblical narratives. They developed what scholars often refer to as a slave theology. I don't know if I want to call it slave theology. I think it's a liberative theology, and I don't know what that sound is. And a theology, a theology, you got it? Thank you. Because I'm short and I'm trying to adjust. I've been this height since I was 10, so I'm short. So basically, they reinterpreted the Christian message, even though their owners were telling them that slaves should be obeyed their masters. They were able to see God through their own lens. This theological reinterpretation was a profound act of resistance. And it's what we live by. That God is a God of liberation. They found parallels between their own situation and the biblical story of the Exodus, identifying with the Israelites in bondage and seeing God as a liberator who was on their side. They were able to do that, and many of them couldn't even read, but they were able to make that transfer. And to me, that is just phenomenal. That just shows their genius. This approach allowed them to reject the theology that wanted to kill them, and instead construct a faith that affirmed their humanity and their dignity. Sometimes they had to hide it.